I'm sorry, I can't confirm. I know about the secondary scene. I didn't have time to get into detail about that. I'll try to do that for 6 o'clock.
What shooter's identity? Adam Lanza, can you confirm?
I'm not going to confirm the identity of the shooter. We're not prepared to do that yet. So we have a tentative identification. We're still working with that. So we're not going to confirm the identity and put that out there. We will identify the shooter at an appropriate time. Just for our investigatory purposes, it's not appropriate to do that right now. Yes.
What do you say is happening in Hoboken, New Jersey in terms of investigation there?
Again, it's part and parcel of what we do. I told you initially that we will leave no stone unturned as we're looking at every facet of this investigation. Whether it's the shooter, any of the victims, we're going to look at everything. And we certainly will go in and out of state, and we'll work with fellow law enforcement, including federal agencies, if we need to answer every single question to exactly what transpired here. And it'll be a time-consuming process, but we'll get it done.
Where are the families now?
Right now, one shooter, yes, sir. It was K through 4, kindergarten through 4th grade. That's the school. They were all students of that school, sir. I don't know the grade they were in. I'm sorry, I don't know that.
You said it was one class, one section.
One section, 2 classrooms. I couldn't tell you. I don't know. I didn't find that out. I'm sorry.
Where are the families?
Your question?
Any students unaccounted for?
No, everyone's been, and that's part of the process, and that's why it took us long to get here. That's a very good question. Are there any students that were unaccounted for? We had to ensure that we accounted for every single student in that school, and that includes maybe someone that was absent for the day because of illness and didn't come to school. So that was part of the process that we had to go through, and now we have the identification process, which is even more difficult, and so it's going to be some time before we're able to give you that information. It probably won't be available till sometime tomorrow.
Did you identify the weapon?
Did we identify a weapon? We have seized the weapon. Yes, we have, sir.
What kind of weapon?
We did not. We will not discuss that at this time, sir.
Still trying to reach parents at this time.
We've been in contact with all the parents. We would not come up here until we've been in contact with all the parents, and we've been communicating with them since they arrived here at the scene. They've been fully informed, and that's why it took so long for us to come up here. Go
What
ahead.
about them? What is planned?
That's it's a good question. Everyone believes that it's something that first responders do, that law enforcement does. But I can tell you, we've provided counseling for the first responders because this was a very tragic, horrific scene that they encountered. It's not something that we want to see. It's not something that we see every day. So that's one thing that we have done, and the colonel has made that perfectly clear, that those people are to be spoken to and receive crisis counseling as required.
Lieutenant, you probably you have to be the face here telling us what's happening, but Newtown is a very quiet, beautiful place, and I'm sure this is something that is not an ordinary thing that you deal with like big cities.
The lieutenant can certainly tell you he's a Newtown officer.
As a authorities and
Sure.
as a person, to see this tragedy of this magnitude, how could you describe it has impacted you personally, not only as a law enforcement officer, but as a person,
as a person, the first thing I thought about was my own children.
Talk right ahead.
Can you say your name, please?
Lieutenant George Cinco.
What's your name, please?
Lieutenant George Cinco, S-I-N-K-O.
Can you tell us as a resident of Newtown and also as a law enforcement,
Can I ask you one more question?
Yes.
the work that you have to do?
This is most definitely the worst thing that we've had experience here in town. Tragic. But right now, we're concerned about the families of the victims. Our officers are professional, and we will deal with this as well.
Can you describe the scene with the parents? Is there a place where people are getting together and are there counselors there for them? What's happening? What's that scene like?
The local hospital, Danbury Hospital, has offered their crisis intervention counselors. They will be available at Reed Intermediate School, which is on Wasserman Way, and they're available right now if need be, and they will be there all weekend.
Is there a place where parents are gathering? I mean, and what's that? Can you describe that?
Something like that.
The parents certainly have gathered at the local firehouse, which is adjacent to the school. and we've done our best to comfort them and try to reassure them that we've done everything we can. But as mentioned, it's a difficult process to confirm the status of an entire elementary school, and we need to be right when we do that.
Lieutenant, what is next?
Yeah, we'll be working. State Police Major Crime Squad will be out there right into the night.
It's healing. We just have to think about the families right now and do everything we can for them.
Lieutenant, was one of the teachers killed to the shooting?
Well, we can't confirm any of that right now. The investigation is ongoing. There are still parents there, yes.
Families get that.
I don't have a number for you.
Part of their life straightened out.
I don't have a number for you.
Then we're going to attempt to answer all the questions.
When did you realize you guys, what the magnitude? How long did it take you to realize the magnitude?
We have minutes after our officers were there, they realized, what a horrific scene we had there.
Well, they're specific place, we're certainly working with them. They're free to go. They need to do change of clothes, get a meal, whatever the case might be. We'll work with them. We'll make it a school.
I don't have the exact timeline on that. Certainly officers responded immediately, and as soon as they realized what they had, we obviously asked for all the resources we could get. All right? Thank you. Anything, Paul?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Right.
Let me just finish this. All right, what we're going to do is we'll come back about just before 6 o'clock, because I know a lot of you are around 6. We'll get back here with one more briefing. Then what we'll do is we'll schedule briefings probably tomorrow. So some of you folks look very tired. I'm sure you want to go get a little rest. So we're going to see if we can give you a schedule of briefings for tomorrow. Okay? Yes.
And you are now watching Eyewitness News at 5. I'm Sade Benoit, along with Bill Ritter, and you were just listening to a press conference updating the latest on the shooting. We heard from Lieutenant Paul Vance saying, "We will not leave any stone unturned. This is an investigation that will be time-consuming, and we will go through every bit of this process." We have been able to identify the shooter. His name is Adam Lanza, and according to a neighbor, he was troubled. He was 20 years old, the son of a teacher. Right now, his brother, Adam, is being questioned by Ryan, is being questioned by police, and he apparently told investigators that Adam is autistic. And according to an interview by federal agents and 2 local law enforcement officers, he is answering several questions at this hour, trying to give some insight into this horrific shooting.
There is no link at all whatsoever. Autism does not lead to this kind of violent behavior, so there are several puzzles. You notice that Lieutenant Vance of the Connecticut State Police did not identify anyone as the shooter. They are being extremely cautious and not letting out any information about who the identity of the shooter is, although we have it from several law enforcement sources. Both we do and ABC News does, that it's Adam Lanza, 20 years old. His mother was a kindergarten teacher. She has been shot and killed, and there is now a crime scene at their house in Newtown, Connecticut, where the father and mother and both brothers lived and had an address. Ryan Lanza also has a place in Hoboken, New Jersey. The police have searched that house. We have reporters everywhere in Connecticut and in New Jersey, and we're going to start with Eyewitness News reporter Marcus Solis on what has been a complicated and oh so tragic day. 27 people killed, the shooter dead. That makes it 28, most of them kids. Marcus is in Newtown, as he has been all day for us. Marcus?
And Bill, you heard state police there say they will leave no stone untouched as they conduct this investigation into this horrific incident in such a small, tight-knit community. It has devastated this community. It all unfolded when the 20-year-old son of a school teacher went to his mother's school and opened fire.
Sandy Hook School. Callers indicating she thinks there's someone shooting in the building. The front glass has been broken out of the school. They're unsure why.
Police radio transmissions indicate the seriousness of the situation, but not the scope of the horror that would unfold.
Okay, these units in the school, I got bodies here. Let's get ambulance.
Just after 9:30 this morning, Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown became a killing field, the site of the second worst mass school shooting in history. 26 people murdered, 20 of them kids between the ages of 5 and 10. A staggering loss of life made worse by the fact the majority of the victims were innocent children.
Beautiful little kids between the ages of 5 and 10 years old. They had their entire lives ahead of them, Birthdays, graduations, weddings, kids of their own.
State and local police swarmed the school, which was immediately put on lockdown. Students described sitting in darkened rooms that were locked by teachers. Eventually, the children were evacuated from the school to a firehouse next door.
We're evacuating people. So we ran out. There's police about at every door. They're leading us down this way, quick, come on.
Police identify the gunman as 20-year-old Adam Lanza, who was also killed. His mother is a teacher at the school and among the dead. The carnage devastating the close-knit community, which is struggling to understand why someone would do the unthinkable.
What a horrible thing to happen right at Christmas. Those poor little kids looking forward to Santa Claus, and I just can't figure out what is going on with the world.
Well, a vigil is planned for tonight, a short time from now, here in town. Meantime, police continue at the scene. A difficult and horrific scene, according to state police. Those are the words they used. A scene that could take days to process. We're live in Newtown. Marcus Solis, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
All right, Marcus. We'll see you throughout our extended coverage tonight on Eyewitness News. Marcus Solis in Newtown, Florida.
We now want to go to Phil Lipoff, who is in Hoboken, who is at the scene of where the suspect brother was being questioned. Phil, to give us some clarity, I know earlier there were some reports that there were 2 bodies that were there, but now we now are leaning towards that there was 1 body inside. Any idea who that victim may have been?
No, I don't know about that, Sade. What I can tell you is that Ryan Lanza, who is Adam's brother, things are starting to make more sense now here in Jersey, the connection to this horrific shooting in Connecticut. We were over at 1313 Grand Street earlier on today, and we saw a man taken from there by police. We now know that was Ryan Lanza, Adam's brother. He is behind me here at the police headquarters in Hoboken. We know that he is talking to both local law enforcement and federal law enforcement. We know that he is at least cooperating somewhat because we've got some information. There was initial confusion today with the name of the shooter. First reported as Ryan. It was not, it was Adam, and this is why that confusion may have happened. We're told that Ryan is telling police Adam, his brother, who was involved in the Connecticut shooting, may have had his identification with him. He may have been carrying his ID. He is right now behind us. He is not in custody. He is simply being questioned. He was not taken under arrest. He's here. He's cooperating with both local and federal officials. I'm told by police sources that they searched his apartment. That was the 1313 Grand Street address we were at earlier on. You saw that huge police presence. We weren't quite sure what was happening. You heard my colleague Sarah Wallace tell you about it. They went inside. They looked for weapons. They looked for explosives. They looked for any connection to what could have happened, what did happen in Connecticut today. They found nothing. They cleared that scene. They brought Ryan here, Adam's brother. They brought him here to police headquarters. He is cooperating, and he is telling them that possibly his brother may have had his ID, and that would have been some of the confusion today. He is not charged with anything right now, and at least one law enforcement official told me that there is no reason to believe right now that he had anything to do with what happened in Connecticut today. But no doubt he is here. He is talking to federal officials, and it will probably be a long night for them all. For now, we're live in Hoboken. Phil Lipoff, Channel 7 Eyewitness News. Back to you in the studio.
Yeah, Phil, stay with us. You know, this thing about the name was very confusing throughout the day. I got an email from someone who used to work here who went to school with Ryan Lanza, who said, hey, you know, just check this out. He just sent out a tweet, Ryan Lanza did. He's supposed to be dead. So all of a sudden the red flags went up, and that ID, if he did have his ID, that would have explained why there were conflicting reports that it was Ryan Lanza who was the shooter, right?
Absolutely, no doubt, Bill. You are correct. There was that confusion with the Twitter account and this and that. But what I know from talking to at least one law enforcement official, you know, there's semantics when you're talking about this. Did he steal his brother's ID? Did he borrow his brother's ID? We can't even confirm that he had his brother's ID, but that is what federal and local law enforcement officials are looking into right now. And we do know they're questioning his brother. So that's how they made the connection.
That's the connection.
And that's where the confusion came
and
with the
this
name.
is clearly a family tragedy because their mother is dead. We don't know where their father is, and where the body is, not in Hoboken, but it is in fact in Newtown, Connecticut, which is where there is a woman in a house where the Ryans lived. The mother, the father, and the 2 boys had their addresses there as well, and that's where we're going to go right now, Phil, to Eyewitness News reporter Jim Hoffer, who is following that part of the investigation in Newtown, Connecticut. Jim?
Bill, state police calling this a secondary crime scene, but make no mistake, it is a full-fledged investigation. They've been here for hours now. As we mentioned, we are on Yogandanda Street. This is a rather upscale neighborhood. This is where the Lanza family home was. This is where Nancy Lanza lived. We think, at least for a time, it is